Hey guys, welcome back to Jay versus Horror. Tonight we're going to talk about three more films that we watched because I'm hurt and there's not much else I can do except for talk on social media and watch movies. Yeah, that's about it. Right now we're up to probably, I'd say we've probably seen 40 or 50 movies already in 2023. And we just watched three more. So we're going to talk about those. And then I'm going to mention something else I want you guys to be aware of out there if you're a horror fan. So let's get started. The three movies we are going to talk about. First off is They Wait in the Dark. Now, this film, if you look on IMDb, it's got like a perfect, or Rotten Tomatoes, I guess. It's got a perfect 100% on the Rotten Tomato meter, and it's got like 12 reviews from real, like, New York Times critics and stuff like that, where they're just like, it's outstanding and all that. But then you look deeper, and if you look at the reviews of the users, you'll see a different story, and it's down around 59% with the users, and those are mostly horror fans who are commenting on this. Now, the film has this kind of underlined secret, and that's really what it's all about. Is trying to discover what's really happening. It's a woman and her child. They're on the run from her ex-lover, and we're led to believe that this is an abusive relationship, and that they're trying to escape and build a new life. But there's more to the story here, and I think the problems that I had with this film, one, it's not that well written. There's a great idea here. There's a good story underneath all this, but it's not that well written. Um, it feels like a very cheap version of something like Martyrs, where it just doesn't play out to that level, though. And the characters are they're just not done very well. They just seem like this one girl who's pretty much the antagonist for most of the film. She's just ridiculous. Like, she's not intimidating at all, and it just seems like a made up character. I don't, it's just not believable. And I know that that's okay in horror movies, but it just kind of sucked in this one. It didn't really work. And like, there's just these cheesy scenes that are used to set up how much of a badass she is and how much we should be terrified of this like 110-pound girl. But anyway, yeah, I didn't love it, and it does have like a secret, like I said, and a decent story. There is, I guess, a twist at the end, but it's not really a twist for me. For me, it's just what's supposed to happen because you see the way the characters are acting in the story, and they give it away. The way they're acting is so weird and awkward that you realize something's not right here, and you kind of figure it out. You don't have to be told really what's going on here at the end. I saw some people who said they thought it was a great twist and they were super surprised. I don't know how, because literally the way the characters act throughout the film tells you everything you need to know about what's going to happen. I won't say that it was terrible. It wasn't terrible. It just seemed like it wasn't polished well, and some of the performances are just not good. There's a performance from the kid actor that's really good, and then there's two performances from the lead female actresses that are bad. Actually, there's a third performance from a best friend who's better than the two leads. They're just really terrible in my opinion, and they make the whole film off. So I'm going to give that one 5 out of 10. I don't know why it's been rated so high by so many people, but yeah, I can't give it more love than that. Other than I do see that there's a good idea there somewhere. Okay, let's move on. Our next film was called Unheard, and this was about a young woman who gets kind of, I guess it's like an ocular implant, but it's experimental. It's not your usual thing, and she has to take some drops, and slowly her hearing starts to come back. I think she had like spinal meningitis when she was a kid or something like that, and she lost her hearing. But there's also like a slasher story going on here, right? Like a who done it, and so that is also an element in this film. So if you really want to know what Unheard is like, I would tell you to think about a film that was made a while back, and I'm going to go way back to the original. This one was done by the Pang brothers, and I think it was from Hong Kong, and it's called The Eye. They even made a sequel called The Eye 2, and it was crazy because The Eye 2 has got nothing to do with the original Eye, but it still works and still creepy as hell. But they remade that movie with an English version, and it had Jessica Alba in it, and it wasn't bad, it wasn't terrible, but it didn't capture the sheer terror of some of the scenes from the original film, The Eye. And so this film is kind of like that, but instead of having this, or this thing that makes her be able to see. Now she can hear. I said ocular before, but that's not what I meant. I couldn't remember the word. But anyway, now she can hear, right? And so she can hear things that are, paranormal, otherworldly. But there's also, like I said, another aspect going on of whodunit. The film works for a long time, and I was kind of excited, like towards the second act. I'm like, damn, this is a really good film. I'm going to get to talk about here. And but then it just kind of like something happens where it just kind of like drags itself down. There's too many red herrings in this film. There's too many red herrings. And by the time you get to the end, you just know that whoever we talk to nearest the end is going to be the person who's the killer. And that, I know that's it's like that for a lot of films, but in this one, it just seemed to be off, right? Because there were several incidents where, like I said, there was too many red herrings. There were several incidents leading up to this where it was like a fake out, and it just didn't really work for me. So Unheard, I'm going to give it a little bit higher score, though, than the last film. I'm going to go ahead and give it Unheard 6 out of 10. Most of it works. And like I said, it's very reminiscent of something like The Eye. Somebody took that idea and changed it from being something that's visual to something that's auditory. And but then they upgraded it also with this other side story of a slasher in it, a whodunit. The Eye has a side story too, but it's more of like a Bruja side story. It's not really a slasher side story. Anyway, I digress. The Eye is the far better film. If you haven't seen any of these films, go watch The Eye. That's the one you need to see, the one from the Pang brothers. And then go watch the one with Jessica Alba because she's a sweet girl and it's not a terrible film, right? Okay, here we go. The third film that we watched was called Burial, and Burial is weird. I wish it was more like some of the other films I've seen titled Burial, but this one wasn't bad. It's kind of like a history lesson, but with a little twist to it, right? It starts out as kind of like a home invasion thing, and then it goes from there to a story about World War II, and there's Nazis, and everybody's trying to rape each other for some reason. And then all of a sudden it becomes this other thing where you think it's going into like creature feature territory. Maybe we're talking about werewolves and things like that here, but then, oh no, wait a minute. That's not exactly it either. There's more to the story, or is it really less to the story at this point, right? It's like there's too many ingredients in this soup at this point, and none of them are really like the best ingredients. It's like somebody just kept adding stuff because it didn't taste right, And then by the time we get to the end, it's supposed to like come full circle and all this and be, whatever. But, I don't want to give too much away, but there's a plot line here that reminded me of like one of the Batman movies almost. It was so ridiculous. And like the way they played it out and everything. And I wasn't a big fan of this one. I will say this, it was shot well. And this one probably had the best acting of any of them that I've seen recently. Actually, probably like the last 6 or 7 that I've seen. This one had the best acting. Like people were serious about this movie. They were taking it seriously, like it was a period piece drama, with thriller aspects. Nobody knew what the fuck this movie was. Nobody who saw it, nobody who made it, nobody knew what this movie was. It was a bunch of ideas that kind of didn't work. But I'll tell you what, just based on production value alone, I got to give this film. I'll give it 5.5 out of 10. I think a lot of you are going to like it a little bit more than I did. And I'm not saying it's none of these films, nothing out there, guys. I don't care how bad it is. Nothing is not worth watching because you never know. You never know. It might just be something that you watch. You're like, this is fucking terrible, but I love it. So you never know. But yeah, so let's move on, guys. I wanted to talk to you about something. And I've been quiet about this for a while, but it's just been eating at me. And it's kind of been in the back of my mind. And so I'm going to talk about it. And I've thought about it carefully over the last 3 years, how I want to talk about this, so I'm not putting myself in jeopardy because I'm not a journalist. Okay, I did used to write for Movie Pilot Horror, but that wasn't a journalism thing. That was just a movie site, right? And Monkeys Fighting Robots, which is also just like a movie comic book site. There's no journalism to me at all whatsoever. You know what I mean? I like to do this. I like to talk about movies, but so I can't like protect sources or just tell people to fuck off if they ask me anything. I could get sued if I say the wrong thing. So I've thought about it carefully, and here's how I'm going to do it. Okay, about 3 years ago, I noticed something, and it just kind of like all the pieces fell into the right place for me at the right time for me to notice this, right? So I had just seen a big theatrical film, and I think the day after that, like the next day, or the day before this even, I rented another film that had just came out on video on demand, just by coincidence. I happened to go on to one of the major horror news sites. I'm not going to say the name of the site. I'm not going to talk about the name of the writer. There are a couple writers at the site that I respect, so I don't want to throw anybody under the bus or anything like that. But anyway, I go on the site and I read a review for the big theatrical film that I went and saw. And this site, they just trashed that movie. And I thought that's odd because it's obviously a good film, even if you didn't like, everything is subjective or whatever. So I kind of gave that a pass. And I thought, well, they just didn't like it. It's not their thing. Of course not. It's a horror site. This is more of a big movie. But then I go and I read the review for the video on demand movie that I watched the day before, and it was just like an okay movie. It was probably like a 4 or 5 out of 10 little horror film. And they were raving, same writer, same reviewer, raving about this movie. And I thought, did we even see the same movie? Just reading the review, I'm like, did we see this? Because it almost sounded like this motherfucker just wrote the synopsis of the film and said it's great. That was it. And I didn't get it. And at this point, I'm getting a little annoyed. And I'm thinking, wow, we just really don't see things the same way, right? And then, right then, I look to my right, and right on the right side of my fucking screen is an ad for this movie, the video on demand movie, trying to sell me this movie. And basically what they're doing is, this guy is telling me, don't spend $10 to go see that movie. Spend $5 to go see this movie. Here it is. Click right here. Motherfuckers are pay to play. That's what's going on in these big review places, okay? You know who I'm talking about. I'm talking about the big boys too. You can go look them up. I just talked about a recent incident that I thought was odd today with one of the movies that I watched. Okay? I found it very odd. Okay? Now, we all know, and I can call IMDb out on this because they know it's fucking true, okay? You could put out the shittiest fucking movie that anybody could ever possibly imagine making. Home footage of you picking the stuff between your toes out, okay? And you can have 8 friends go on IMDb and write a fucking 5-star review of it and try to sell it that way. And they will let you do that. They don't regulate this shit because they see it as, well, it's just subjective. People have the right to their own. So they invalidate everyone's opinion by allowing these motherfuckers to do the shit that they're doing. And all they're really trying to do is con people. Now, who out there has gotten, what kind of horror fans do you know, guys? Because the kind of horror fans I know, they're not walking around with $5,000 in their pocket. And when they do have $5,000 in their pocket, it's because they've been saving it for 6 fucking months while they're working hard at their job so they can go to a convention and have 5 minutes with Bruce Campbell. That's why they got $5,000. They don't have money to be spending on fake fucking movies, helping people make fake movies through fake accounts and all that shit. It's an ongoing plague in the horror industry. Anything to make a buck, right? And there's cons in every industry, guys. So just be aware of it. And I'm not calling anybody out. I don't want to say any names. There's some people over at this place that I do like, and I've actually kind of like worked with before and met before and stuff like that. So I don't want to accuse anybody of anything. Go look for yourself, guys, because that's where it is. It's just like, like when Neo's reading The Matrix, go look at it for yourself. And I promise you will fucking see what I'm talking about, especially if you watch a lot of horror movies, because it's going to become, what's going to happen is you're going to start reading these reviews and you're going to be like, this is a strange coincidence that all the fucking movies that I like are getting bad reviews, but the movies that they want me to watch that they're trying to sell me are getting good reviews. Or at least, like, what they're doing, guys, is they're cheating. They're giving them like 3 out of 5 or 6 out of 10, whatever the fuck their review system is. They give them just enough so they can say, well, it's subjective, and I thought it was good enough to get that at least. And they'll come up with all kinds of shit to lie, and they can lie. And you have to watch out for some of these big sites because, guys, we all know some of these sites that are reviewing films have money in films that are being made. Their fucking names are on them the opening credits. And even the ones that they're not fully funding, they have investments in it. They have money in. They have money in all of horror to begin with. Okay, so let's get that straight. You have to think about it. You can't just listen to what they tell us that we gotta like. Okay, well, remember like MTV in the 80s? Remember that? Okay, we don't even fucking know what music we like. You know why we don't know what music we like? Because they told us, here's 15 songs, choose 2 you like. And that's what you like. And we're going to give you 15 more in 2 months. That's what they did to us. We didn't know everything that was out there. We just know what was available to us. And that's what they're trying to do here, is try to narrow the market, funnel it into us watching what they want us to watch and what they're funding and what they're making money off of. Who's paying them? Doesn't do anything for us, right? All right, guys. That's all I got for tonight. The 3 reviews, the little thing there, the little warning. And guys, we're doing Movie Club. It is week 6, I believe. We're on week 6, yes. Russell De Silva from India has chosen our movie this week. It is Intruder 1989. We're still in that weird back of the 80s slasher phase. Everybody keeps choosing these movies, I think, because a lot of them are free on Tubi. Guys, if you want to help us out, you want to throw a couple bucks our way, you absolutely do not have to. This is totally free, and we do it because we love it. And we will continue to do it as long as we can keep the lights on. And I don't know, there's no promises on that. Okay, so that's all there is to that. If you want to drop us a couple bucks, you can. You are absolutely not obligated to, because we are not going to pressure you for money like some people do. We're definitely not going to sit here and talk about it for 20 minutes and then do it. All right, guys. We love you. And if you're not a part of the group, come join us at Jay vs. Horror on Facebook. 25,000 horror members and growing, guys. We love it. We talk about horror all day long, and we just have a good time. And that's what it's about. So we will talk to you guys, as always, the next time we got something we're talking about. Bye.